dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky. This is WYMT Mountain News Weekend Edition.
Good evening, I'm Keaton Hall. We start with breaking news tonight out of Johnson County. Johnson County Coroner J.R. Frisbee confirmed with us that a body was recovered from the Paintsville Lake earlier this evening. The identity of the person has not yet been released. Frisbee said the person jumped from a cliff into the water. A heavy emergency crew presence was reported at the lake while first responders searched for the person. We'll have more information on our website as it comes out. This weekend is free fishing weekend in Kentucky, and folks here in the mountains were out and about reeling in fish from across the region. WYMT's Jordan Mullins has more from Pike County, where fishers hit the banks of nearby lakes, rivers, and streams for a free chance to catch a trophy fish.
June 4th and 5th is free fishing weekend in Kentucky, allowing folks who may not have the opportunity to get their fishing license get out of the house and toss in a line.
You know, a lot of people don't want to spend the money to buy a license, but they get to go out on a weekend like this, and maybe they'll learn what fishing's about,
without having to worry about being fined for fishing illegally.
It's definitely a great experience for everyone, you know, to get out and enjoy the day and actually get to fish and not have to worry about, you know, anything.
And folks across the Commonwealth and here in the mountains took advantage of the weekend.
It's like a holiday, yeah.
Catching massive fish and small ones too, and enjoying their time on the banks of eastern Kentucky rivers, lakes, and streams.
Yeah, it's great. It's definitely a learning experience for them, for sure. And it gets them out of the house. That's the main thing.
Some enjoying their time with family and teaching their children exactly how they were taught.
It brought back a lot to be able to, a lot of memories, a lot of nostalgia to be able to spend time with my kids, doing the same sort of thing, showing them how to work a hook, and remember some of the things that my dad had showed me when I was little. My brothers had showed me, my friends had showed me tips on fishing and stuff, and being able to do that with them, it's awesome.
Casting a line in hopes of a catch. In Pike County, Jordan Mullins, WYMT Mountain News.
Trump said he and his children don't go fishing often, and he didn't have his license, but this weekend was the perfect opportunity for him and his family. Kentucky animal shelter owners are now begging for help. Rescues are at full capacity and unable to house any more animals. Anita Spreitzer's Animal Rescue Paws for the Cause is at full capacity, and she says so is every other shelter in the state. She says it's called a co-ed crisis situation. Spreitzer says they're seeing countless abandoned, neglected, and abused dogs and cats, more than any shelter can house.
We know that there's nothing we're going to be able to do about this. We're kind of defeated about it, but we have to keep going, because the ones that we can save their lives, we have to do it for them.
Spreitzer says the most important thing right now is getting fosters so Paws for the Cause can place animals in homes. She says they're also encouraging anyone who can't foster to make a monetary donation. They're using donations to waive adoption fees. Corbin's 7th annual Burger Week starts Monday. The town known for chicken is once again putting a spotlight on other meats. 9 restaurants will be participating, and the restaurant with the best burger brings home a trophy. Executive Director at Corbin Tourism and Convention Commission, Maggie Monholland, says the community is ready to do some taste testing.
People love Burger Week, not only because it's a chance to try something that's not traditionally on the restaurant's menu, but because we have groups that get together and actually plot out, you know, their route and who they're going to try.
Burger Week runs Monday through Friday, and each specialty burger will be $6.
The weather is mostly quiet tonight across the mountains, but we are watching out for some changes as we get into your new work week. Here is a live look over at the London Corbin Airport. Not much happening. Current temperature is sitting at 70 degrees. 64 in Manchester, 67 in Prestonsburg, 71 for Pikeville, and 72 over in Jackson. Now check this out. Dew points are now up into the upper 50s and lower 60s, and they will be on the increase as we go into the overnight as more moisture begins working into the area. Most of us are quiet tonight up on Pinpoint Doppler, and we stay quiet as we go into the overnight hours. Some patchy fog is possible. We are watching out for that mostly clear sky. Temperatures falling into the upper 50s and lower 60s. But some changes are on the way, like I mentioned. More showers are possible, especially as we get into your new work week. I have that and more coming up in just a little bit. Keaton.
Thanks, Cameron. Well, as the summer vacation season gets into full swing, surging fuel prices are making it a bit more expensive for many Americans to travel. For those taking a road trip, gas nationwide is averaging $4.84 a gallon. A year ago, it was just over $3. Rental cars, if you can find one, are more expensive than before the pandemic. Hotel prices are up 42% from a year ago, and airfares 45%.
I came into LAX, it was terrible. The lines were too big.
A lot of traveling this summer.
One reason for the long lines, staffing shortages. The 4 major U.S. airlines have 10% fewer workers than before the pandemic. But the hassles aren't stopping some passengers. Here in Kentucky, Governor Andy Beshear's administration has filed an emergency regulation to freeze the state gas tax and to prevent a 2-cent increase per gallon that would have taken effect on July 1st. Tonight, a West Virginia community is mourning the loss of an officer killed in the line of duty. Deputy Sheriff Thomas Baker of Nicholas County died after being shot in the back while responding to a call. Police say one of the 2 suspects died from his injuries, while the other has been charged with first-degree murder. Tonight, Nicholas County held a candlelight vigil in Baker's honor. There were mass shootings in at least 8 cities across the country this weekend. 2 happened overnight at popular gathering places and left at least 6 people dead. Police say at least 3 people died and a dozen injured after a shooting in downtown Philadelphia. In Chattanooga, Tennessee, at least 3 people were killed in a shooting near a nightclub. 14 others were injured by gunfire and 3 hit by vehicles trying to flee the scene.
There's going to be multiple shooters. We cannot confirm how many.
The weekend of gun violence follows mass shootings in Buffalo and Uvalde, Texas, and the growing threat is leaving Americans feeling on edge. On Capitol Hill, lawmakers from both sides say talks for new gun legislation are making progress. The House will vote on a separate gun control legislation this week, and Wednesday, the 11-year-old girl who played dead during the Texas shooting will appear before Congress. As Wear Orange for Gun Violence Awareness Weekend comes to an end, calls to end gun violence across the nation is still a huge topic of discussion. In Lexington, one activist group is seeking changes as well after another deadly shooting on Saturday. Jeremy Toms spoke to a member of this group.
Every time I wake up in the morning, I think, what's the news going to, what are we going to see? What other homicide has happened? And
Brenna Reed says she's saddened each time someone loses their life.
With the murder that happened here in Lexington this weekend, I mean, this family is supposed to be mourning the loss of their family member who had been murdered, and they can't even do that. They can't even put their family member to rest in peace.
But she's also grown frustrated by the increasing regularity of these instances.
Quite frankly, it makes me very angry because it doesn't have to be the way that it is.
Reed and Bild are advocating for a group violence intervention strategy to be implemented. She says it could have impacted the way this most recent gun death unfolded.
You have to think it has to be somehow related, and which tells us that it's exactly the type of homicide, it's exactly the type of interaction that something like group violence intervention could have possibly prevented.
City leaders, including Mayor Linda Gordon, have said GVI would not work for Lexington. In a March letter sent to Bild, Gordon says it could target communities of color, straining relationships between those communities and law enforcement. Gordon also said it has not worked in some cities that they have researched. But Reed cites the Giffords Law Center to Prevent Gun Violence, which says GVI has not been adequately funded in some cities which attempt to implement it. With Lexington on pace for another record-breaking year, Reed says it's worth trying.
What can it hurt at this point? I mean, if it saves one life, certainly it is worth it.
The Ukrainian capital city of Kiev was rocked by several large explosions on Sunday. The mayor says at least one person was hospitalized after missile strikes. Military officials say Ukrainian forces were able to shoot down a Russian missile south of the capital. And Ukraine's state-run nuclear power operator is accusing Russia of nuclear terrorism after a Russian cruise missile reportedly flew critically low over a plant in the south. The world's largest hotel chain is suspending all of its operations in Russia. Marriott International announced Friday that it will no longer be conducting business in Russia because of the invasion of Ukraine. In March, Marriott announced the closing of its corporate office in Moscow and would be putting the opening of any new hotels in Russia on pause. Friday's action takes its initial response much further. Marriott says it's also taken steps to support Ukrainian refugees, providing housing in 85 of its hotels in neighboring countries. This Thursday, the Congressional Committee investigating the January 6 attack is set to make its findings public. For nearly a year, a bipartisan U.S. House committee has dug into what led up to the riot and what happened at the White House while the attack was underway. The committee has completed more than 1,000 interviews, including with key figures around former President Donald Trump, including Ivanka Trump, Jared Kushner, Rudy Giuliani, and just last week, former U.S. Attorney General William Barr. Democrats see Thursday as their chance to present the narrative of what happened on January 6th, but interviews are expected to continue after the findings are made public, meaning the investigation has no firm end date.